Hey everybody, I'm doing a water change here on my 125, and I thought I would just shoot some video and think out loud a little bit while I'm draining the tank and waiting for it to run down. I want to get it down there pretty good. I've already wiped the glass down. There was a fair amount of the green spot algae, which is pretty tough to get off of there. I didn't get in with any scraper this time. I just used my polyester batting, and I just fold a little piece of that up. It's the same stuff I use in my filter, and I just get in there and wipe the glass down. And I was in no hurry. It takes forever to drain this tank down about halfway, which is what we're going to do tonight. And I just had some music playing and got in there and kind of just put the elbow grease on it and slowly made my way across there. So one of the things I did while I was waiting was I took a water sample from my Gudgeon tank, and I tested the water. The nitrates are pretty high. The test came out fairly red. I tested for nitrites. There was none, as I expected. I didn't bother to test for ammonia, but I did get to thinking about doing some water testing and shooting some video about water testing. I've had people ask me some questions about it recently. I watched somebody shooting a video about it recently, and I just think it's about time I shoot another video about my thoughts on water testing. I always kind of forget that I get new viewers all the time. I sort of think that, I did videos about water testing, and it was 2 years ago, but I shot videos about water testing. Well, I'm not going to keep shooting videos about the same topics over and over again. And I really kind of feel like that's why some of my videos have sort of run out of steam. I've run out of subject matter. I've kind of run through all of my experiments and the stuff I did with the CO2 experimentation early on. That's when my channel really started picking up viewers. A lot of people started watching because I was doing experiments with atmospheric CO2 in my tanks. And, I've kind of done all that stuff. I've done all various water testings and before and after, checking the parameters and seeing what shifts the pH and how much water hardness affects this and that. And I did all that stuff for a long time. And now I just kind of don't anymore, but I've got videos of all of it if you dig far enough back in my playlists. And I guess, just because I shot a video of it once doesn't mean I can't shoot a video of it again. So I guess it's probably about time to start shooting some videos about maybe doing some water testing. If nothing else, I want to shoot a video about how to properly do the API nitrate test in particular. A lot of people get that a little wrong when they get to the having to shake the bottle and shake the vial and all that kind of stuff. So we'll shoot some video about that coming up here real soon. Again, make sure you're subscribed. I always recommend that for everybody. That way you'll get whatever I post out. You never know what you're going to get with me. Been keeping an eye on my Gudgeon, and I just got kind of distracted because I saw him chase my rubber lip. I've never seen him really go after the rubber lip before. I have seen the Gudgeon act aggressive towards other fish. That's why I took the T-bar out of this tank. It was the Gudgeon that was acting aggressive towards the T-bar. So maybe the Gudgeon is in there being aggressive towards that red-tailed loach. See, he just did it again. That was the rubber lip that he just went after like that. So in the last couple of days, I know his injuries look bad here, but that's actually just sort of scraped up skin at this point. There's no additional injuries. Now, I know I can sit here saying, oh, well, I'm keeping an eye on the tank, but at some point, I can come down and find he's missing an eye or his guts are hanging out because that loach laid him open. I don't know. I really need to get in here and do some rearranging. Now that I'm seeing him being aggressive towards that rubber lip, that really makes me question what else I could even put in this tank with him. So maybe nothing, or maybe get like a fancy pleco and do a different kind of pleco and have a tougher sort of armored bottom dwelling fish in there that could deal with being in the same tank as him but wouldn't be a threat to the Gudgeon, because that's what I'm concerned about, is this Gudgeon getting any more beat up than it already is. You can see he's going to have scars the rest of his life at least. So I really need to get in there and do something with this one. It's just the idea of getting in there and trying to catch that loach and get it out of there. This tank is so bushy and thick and overgrown. The surface skimmer doesn't work, so it's getting some stuff on the surface. I really need to get in here and do some maintenance, and that's kind of why I'm putting it off. You can see the plants are growing right up out of the top. Here's my rubber lip again. Let's see if the loach goes after it. I mean the gudgeon goes after it. So I really need to get in here and do some work. You can see how I'm getting some scuzzy, gross looking stuff growing on the leaves. I've seen some little chunks of the green cyanobacteria floating around. So what I'm going to do with this tank is treat it with that red cyanobacteria from ChemiClean. That stuff just worked so well when I used it in my other tank that I'm going to use it in this tank, and we're going to get all this cleaned up. So I'll put a link below, as I always do, for that ChemiClean. I'm sold on it. I'm not ever going to bother with the other stuff. Again, if I need to do some maintenance on the tank and get one cleaned up, it's going to be that ChemiClean, because that certainly seems to be the way to go. So when I get in there and do that, hopefully any day now, for the sake of that gudgeon and for the sake of that loach, I want to get that loach out of there. Another issue is I don't really know what to do with that loach. I keep kind of leaning towards getting rid of it altogether, but part of me wants to keep it and hang on to it, although I don't know why, because I've never really liked it. That's definitely a type of fish I'd never buy again. So, I don't know. We'll see about that. But I did do a test on the water in that tank, and the nitrates are getting up there, so it's about time to do a test. I was kind of curious because there's not very many fish in that tank. We got the cat was sitting there watching the fish in my quarantine tank. So I got some new fish in my quarantine tank. I got about 30 neons in there, and I put some guppies in there today, and I've also got a peppered cory in there somewhere down on the bottom. And then in the other quarantine tank, I've got another one of those. No, I don't. I got the high fin pleco out of there already. That's in my T-bar tank. I've still got 2 rubber lips over in my other quarantine tank. And on a quick note here, we can actually see how terrible all of the Anubias root looks that I put on there. But if you will look right there, you can see I've got some new growth generating here on the Anubias. So we might, now that I'm actually looking, there's a few more spots of green in there too. And this other one's actually got some green in there. So that might work out. It might grow back and start doing something. So cross your fingers. I still need to get in there and do some work. That's what I should be doing right now, is putting rocks in here and fiddling with this tank rather than standing around shooting video about nothing in particular. But I can always do that while we wait for it to fill up, because it takes just about as long to fill back up as it does to drain out. So now that the water level's getting down there a little bit, you can really kind of start to see how much tannins are really in that water. Again, I realize it's not a black water tank. It's not like super over the top tannin stained, but that's some pretty tea stained water. That's some yellowy brown water. So we're going to drain just a little more out of there, and then we're going to call it good. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. As I said, this was really not going to be about anything in particular. I do have some other stuff we could shoot some video about that would actually have some point to it, like the video about my water testing and so on and so forth. I also want to shoot a video about my giant bucket full of Java fern I've got in the other room, because I'm actually going to try to do something with that, but we'll see how that goes. So make sure you're subscribed, as I keep saying, and you won't miss anything I got going on or any of these videos I keep rambling on about. And don't forget, this one is my 125 gallon tank. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you real soon on the next one.